All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're exploring one of the absolute highest stakes mysteries of our entire evolutionary history. We're going way, way back in time to solve a primal biological puzzle that literally every single one of our ancestors had to figure out. I mean, if they didn't, well, we wouldn't even be here today to talk about it. So, how did humans sleep when wolves were everywhere? It's a single, super provocative question straight from our source material, and it sets up a massive primal conflict. Think about it. Biologically, we absolutely have to be unconscious to survive, right? Our brains just need sleep to function. But being completely knocked out in a chaotic, predator-rich world, that basically meant certain death. How did a soft, relatively slow, totally vulnerable creature manage to literally shut down its awareness in a world packed with teeth and claws? Section 1. The Primal Sleep Problem. To really get this puzzle, we have to strip away the cozy safety of our modern world. Look at this stark contrast between then and now. On one hand, we've got our current luxurious expectation of rest, safe bedrooms, a continuous 8 hours, just deep, deep rest. We lock our doors, tweak the thermostat, and fully expect to be left alone. But then, look at the ancient reality. Completely exposed environments, highly fragmented rest, and this constant high-stress vigilance. Literally every time the sun went down, our ancestors were totally exposed. The big takeaway here is this concept of sleep vulnerability. When you sleep, you experience severe sensory detachment. You can't see a thing, your hearing is totally muffled, and your reaction time, basically zero. From an evolutionary standpoint, sleep was essentially a fatal biological flaw when you were sharing a habitat with apex predators who were literally built to hunt in the dark. Section 2. Predators in the dark. 8. Just think about that number for a second. That represents 8 hours of absolute, suffocating darkness. That is a massive, unbroken block of time where early humans had to somehow survive complete vulnerability every single night, without fail. Back then, you didn't just have to survive the daytime. The night was this grueling 8-hour endurance test of staying alive, while desperately trying to get the rest your brain demanded. Put yourself in that landscape. Imagine you're this fragile, relatively small human, and if you picture this vast, imposing wilderness filling up a wide 16:9 screen around you, it's terrifying. To a wolf, a saber-toothed cat, or one of those giant ancient hyenas, creatures equipped with built-in night vision and an insane sense of smell, an unconscious human isn't a challenge. It's just an effortless meal.
Section 3. Escaping the ground.
These theoretical solutions to the whole getting eaten by wolves problem definitely didn't happen overnight. They unfolded in a really structured series of evolutionary and technological steps that totally rewired how we interact with the night. Humanity basically had to learn to elevate, then illuminate, and finally to guard. This 3-step progression is literally the foundation of human survival in the dark. Let's look at that very first step, elevation. Before we mastered our environment, our only real defense was just basic physics. We had to put physical, vertical distance between our unconscious bodies and the snapping jaws of ground-dwelling predators. Early hominids retreated to the tree canopies, honestly a lot like chimpanzees do today. They'd build these temporary sleeping platforms way up high in the branches, totally bypassing the terrestrial paths where all those wolves and big cats were prowling around. Section 4. The Power of Fire. Harnessing this natural element was an absolute game changer. Fire was the ultimate technology for us. It tapped into this primal fear that is shared by almost all animals, and it finally allowed us to come down out of those trees and claim the earth as our own, even while we were fast asleep. Before fire, we were quite literally trapped in total darkness and forced to hide up in the trees. But after fire, we created a literal illuminated defensive perimeter. And fire didn't just give us communal warmth to survive freezing ice age nights. It created a very real ring of safety. By keeping the wolves at bay, this glowing barrier of light and heat finally allowed early human brains to relax just enough to drop into deeper, much more restorative states of REM sleep right there on the ground. Section 5. The Sentinel Hypothesis. Because even with a fire going, the dark was still super dangerous. The flames could easily die down, or, a really desperate predator might just decide to push its luck. This brings us to what's known as the Sentinel Hypothesis. It's this incredibly fascinating evolutionary theory that suggests human survival depended on one strict biological rule. Never, ever have the entire tribe unconscious at the exact same time. If everyone sleeps at once, the whole tribe could die. Someone always had to be the sentinel, keeping watch on the tree line. So the Sentinel system operates on overlapping sleep schedules, instead of our modern setup, where the whole house basically goes completely quiet for an 8-hour block. The ancient tribe operated as this highly cohesive, constantly vigilant unit. Sleep was taken in fragmented, protective shifts. This constant group vigilance basically guaranteed that at any given moment, there were at least a few pairs of eyes and ears actively scanning the dark. And here is where this ancient system connects directly to you and me right now. We all know early birds and night owls, right? Well, the Sentinel hypothesis argues that this natural variation isn't just some quirky lifestyle preference, it's actually a hardwired prehistoric survival mechanism. The night owls stayed up super late to guard the midnight shift, and the early birds woke up way before dawn to take over. Your own personal sleep schedule might literally be the biological echo of an ancient guard duty. How wild is that? Section 6, our ancient sleep legacy. Let's pull this all together, because tracing this lineage reveals a pretty startling truth about our modern reality. We went from millions of years sleeping safely up in the tree branches to hundreds of thousands of years clustered tightly around fires in shifting guard rotations, all the way to today. That monophasic sleep we all expect today, that solid single 8-hour block, it's actually a super recent anomaly. In the grand scope of our incredibly long, dangerous evolutionary history, expecting to sleep deeply for 8 hours straight in a quiet, perfectly dark room is highly unusual. Which brings us to a really vital question. If you struggle with sleep, if you suffer from insomnia, or if you constantly wake up at 2 a.m. at the absolute slightest sound, is there actually something wrong with you? Or is it simply an ancient survival trait misfiring in a modern, super safe world? It's just incredibly intriguing to think that your inability to sleep might just be your inner sentinel, waking up to check the perimeter for wolves that just aren't there anymore. I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought. The next time you turn off the lights and find yourself just staring up at the ceiling, remember where you came from. We might have locked the doors and turned up the heat, but deep down in the very oldest parts of our neurology, the echo of that primal survival instinct is still there. Our brains still sleep like there are wolves in the dark. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, guys. Keep questioning the world around you and sleep well tonight, if you can.